Hey everyone, welcome back to Hockey Headspace, the podcast where we explore the mental side of hockey and life. I'm Dr. Dub, and today we're diving into something that's getting a lot of attention in the hockey world. That's a player's compete level. You might hear this term more and more from coaches and scouts and analysts because there's a really good reason for it. So in this episode, we'll break down the four main reasons that coaches and scouts have become so fixated on compete level, and why it might just be the most important part of your game. Whether you're a player trying to take your performance to the next level, a coach pushing your team harder and harder, or a parent looking to understand the game better, this episode's for you. So let's get started. Let's start with the first and perhaps most critical reason why coaches and scouts are obsessed over a player's compete level. And that's because being competitive can bridge the skill gap between you and another player. Think about it. Not every player on the ice is going to be the most naturally talented or skilled player. Sometimes you're up against somebody who's bigger and faster or just has more experience. But here's the thing. If you're a relentless competitor, you can sometimes knock even the most skilled player off their game. Compete level is about grit, resilience, and drive. It's about making your opponent earn everything that they get. And in a sport like hockey, where physical and mental toughness are essential, most players aren't used to dealing with a relentless competitor. They might have the skills, but when they face somebody who refuses to give up, somebody who fights for every inch, it can shake their focus. I've seen it happen over and over. A player with less skill outworks and outcompetes and ultimately outshines somebody who may be more naturally gifted. Competitiveness forces highly skilled players to back down and question themselves and maybe start playing below their potential. That's the power of compete level. It can bridge that gap between pure skill and pure heart. And that's why it's such a big deal. The second reason compete level is so critical is because scouts are judging it just as much as your skating, your stick handling, and your hockey sense. If you've listened to scouts or followed the draft in recent years, you'll notice that they're laser focused on how competitive a player is. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't compete with intensity on every shift, scouts are going to notice. Why? Well, because hockey is not just a game of skill. We know that. It's a game of mental and physical toughness. Scouts want to see players who are hungry for success, players who can fight through adversity, and players who refuse to quit no matter what the scoreboard says. When the scouts are evaluating a player, they're asking themselves, how does this player perform when they're under pressure? Are they relentless or do they back down? A player with high compete shows a scout that they can be counted on in critical moments. These are the players who win puck battles, hustle back on defense, and they never take a shift off. So if you're a player looking to get noticed, remember, it's not just about your physical abilities. Your compete level, your will to win, is just as important, if not more so. The third reason compete level matters so much is that being fiercely competitive, it earns you respect. Let's be real, hockey is fast, physical, and sometimes a brutal sport. But when you're the player who gives 100% on every shift, you earn the respect of your teammates, your coaches, and yes, even your opponents. Think about it. When you're known as a player who fights for every puck, battles along the boards, never takes a shift off, people are going to notice. Coaches start trusting you in key situations. Teammates rely on you to set the tone for effort and intensity. And even opponents who might chirp you during the game, they're going to respect your work ethic when it's all said and done. There's something incredibly powerful about being the player who just refuses to give up. It shows that you have heart, that you're not afraid to push through pain or fatigue, and that you're somebody who can be counted on when it matters the most. These qualities will take you far. And that brings me up to the fourth reason that coaches and scouts are so fixated on compete level. And that's that being competitive isn't just something that helps you on the ice. It carries over into all the aspects of your life. It truly is a powerful character trait. When you're a competitive person, you push yourself harder in everything that you do, not just hockey. In school, competitive students, they work for the best grades. In the workplace, competitive employees, they're the ones that stand out and take charge and they rise through the ranks. Competitiveness teaches you to set goals, work hard to achieve them, and refuse to settle for anything less than your best. It gives you an edge, an advantage over others who might not be willing to put in that extra effort. In hockey, it might mean winning puck battles or making an extra pass. In life, it might mean pushing yourself to get that promotion or ace that exam. Either way, it's the competitive drive that helps you rise above the rest. You can't always control your size or your speed or your raw skill, but you can always control how hard you're willing to compete. When you're up against somebody bigger or faster or more skilled, you can still compete with such intensity that you cut them down to size. You can force them to play below their ability simply because you refuse to back down. I've seen it over and over. Players who may not be the most skilled, they dominate their competition because they just compete harder. They outwork, they outfight, they outlast, and that's what sets them apart. Compete level is a key skill that you have to have if you're going to be a complete player. Without both heart and skill, You just can't reach the highest levels in this game. So let's wrap up today's episode. Here's the takeaway. Compete level is everything. It's what bridges that gap between talent and heart. And it's what coaches and scouts are looking for in every player that they evaluate. If you want to stand out both on and off the ice, make your compete level your defining characteristic. You may not always be the biggest or the strongest, but you can always be the player who refuses to quit, the player who fights for every inch, the player who pushes themselves beyond their limits. That's what being competitive is all about. It's not just a skill, but it's a relentless drive to be your best. Now, if you're interested in learning what your compete level is, I have what I call the Compete Level Dial. It's a quick assessment that you can take, and it shows you where you land on the Compete Level Dial. There are 8 levels, everything from intimidated all the way up to fierce. Go to CompeteLevelFormula.com and take the assessment and see where you end up on the dial. All right, so thanks for tuning in to Hockey Headspace. If this episode resonated with you, be sure to share it with your teammates, your coaches, or anyone that's looking to understand the power of compete level. Keep your head in the game and your heart in the play. Until next time, keep pushing, keep competing, and keep getting better every day.